Actually, for years, I've been in the camp of these are not our friends. And again, I really want to make reference to the number of fast blasts I'm getting who really object to this. And it's people, I think, who, I'm not sure, it may have to do with fear. It may have to do with the fact that people use the rationale that aliens, if they're there, simply by virtue of the fact that, you know, their technology would have to be so far advanced to get here in the first place, that they would be socially advanced, that they would be warm and fuzzy, they would have a great sense of political right and wrong, PC, that they wouldn't be doing these sorts of things, that they wouldn't need to do these sorts of things. And they really, I guess it's fear. It may be fear. Butch, what do you think?
I think that's a lot of it. I think a lot of it's fear. The cases of abduction where these folks are never found, I mean, that's a big question. And I'd hate to think that they're all coming to the same end as some of the reports that I've looked at. Mm-hmm. But you know, in an age where nuclear and biological and chemical weapons, which if they were deployed could decimate an entire race, we seem to just keep muddling on. You know, I see more people panic over gas prices than the thought of a nuclear holocaust.
Yeah.
You know, so if they panic, if they were told by the government that aliens are here now and have been since forever, I don't think the government's going to be willing to talk too much about that little matter.
No, and then there's this. I mentioned Whitley Strieber. What about abduction and then implants? That's got to fit in somewhere here. It's not always mutilation. It's not always just flat disappearance.
Right.
Sometimes it's, hey, there's something in me.
Oh, yeah, implants, and then there's multiple abductions where, you know, a person is abducted many, many times over their lifetime. And, you know, very little is done to them, an examination here or there, or they say they're brought back to kind of like report on how they've been doing, and, you know, almost like Old Home Week. But I just don't think that they're as malevolent, or benevolent, rather, as people think they are. I used to think if I ever ran into one or bumped into one during an investigation, I want to walk up and shake his hand and invite him in for a beer. Not anymore. I tell people, you know, if you see something and it looks like it's going to land or it's coming close or whatever, run. Just run.
Yeah, but in fact, when you think about it, if you're investigating these things, and I assume from time to time when you're able on scene, there is a stronger possibility for you than there would be for the average person of, you know, having to come to grips with some sort of close encounter. Have you thought about that?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, you know, my family especially, like, you know, hey, Dad, what happens if you run into one of these guys? What are you going to do? You know, you get a little old to run. Well, I guess I'll have to put up a fight, but it's more important, I think, to find out why. The truth and why is a big thing. And, you know, that's one of the reasons we started U4 Cop, to find out, you know, get to the end of it, or at least get to a point where we can get some answers, or we know where to go to get some answers.
Okay, well, do you have any best guesses, Butch?
No.
The why of it all. In other words, why are they doing this? If you put it all together, if you put together the implants, which obviously are to monitor us, and then you move all the way to mutilations, which are to dissect us, I guess, and find out about us.
Well, the thing I have the problem with the dissection deal is, look, you know, if you dissect one human being, okay, you know exactly what the next human being has. There is no difference in the autopsy of a male and a female, with the exception of the female organs. That's it. They're you know, the muscles is the same, the rib cages are the same, you know, the bone structure is the same, the skull is the same, the brain is the same. So if they did one, why would you have to do any more? And if you don't want it now, why would you have to do any more?
What about genetics, Butch?
There are so many stories when it comes to the mutilation and the abduction scenarios and phenomenon that, first of all, they come up with, well, the government made a deal with the aliens that, of course we could take so many, and they reneged on a deal, so now they're keeping them. Then you have Dulce, then they have Dulce Base out there in New Mexico where they say, they are actually turning these people into hybrids or having them birth hybrids, or they're just using them for food sources. And, it can get so wild and so far and so stretched that, it just makes the answer go so much further away. I just got a thing on email here. A lady says she has an implant in her knee and would like somebody to come check it out. So, I don't know.
Well, at least, when you have implants, you have some form of evidence. And, of course, I guess even with human mutilations, you have evidence occasionally. I just think the majority of them are not returned. And, again, we've got so many disappearances that are unaccounted for, simply totally unaccounted for, that they could be taking people, and we would not know they were taking people.
Exactly. And it's the numbers are staggering. I mean, so, I only did 10 years. So if I'd go back to the turn of the century and use the same formula, we'd be talking about billions of people, not millions.
Are there any ongoing cases right now?
No, none that we can find.
Is there any indication, Butch, that that they've been tailing off? In other words, that there were more years ago and there are not as many now? Well,
I was talking to some researchers down in South America, as a matter of fact, in Brazil, and Portugal, and where else were we talking to them? Argentina. And a lot of things, of course, you're familiar with chupacabra. Well, these holes that are being found in certain people that they say were chupacabra victims, these researchers believe were human mutilation victims. And in those countries, cremation is not a big deal. I mean, it's not like cremation is here. We use cremation a lot here to dispose of bodies. In those countries, burial is a very religious rite, and cremations are very seldom done. But it seems like the one investigator told me from Argentina, he says every victim that he's gone to see or tried to see has been already cremated by the time he gets there. He said the body was found yesterday, it was cremated yesterday. He said that's impossible, they can't do that. But it's being done all the time, he said. So where he's going to look at what he thinks is a chupacabra victim, when he's told what the wounds look like, that they're all exactly the same size and they almost look like they've been cauterized or they've been cut with a precision instrument. Well, that's not an animal. I mean, if you look at an animal that's been ravaged by, say, a wolf, I mean, they're shredded, they're torn apart, and the first place they go for is, the underbelly, the soft part of the body, and they just rip and shred and tear, and you're looking at these cattle and that are in just as good a shape as this guy was found in Brazil.
Mike in San Diego, Fast Blast, that you dodged my question on genetics. Certainly, not all humans are the same with regard to genetics. That's true. It's very true. But I don't know. It's very hard for me, after seeing the evidence on this Brazil case, that anything genetically or hybrid-wise or any type of experiment was carried out that would mean anything to anybody here, because they're doing the same thing to cattle, horses.